everybody, it's me. Not Puppetine, it's RDB. What's going on? That's right, we're back with Retrospective. Last week, did we have one last week? I think we did. I feel like it's been a while. Maybe because Zach's not here, that's why it feels off. But don't worry, we upgraded because we have trusty sidekick here.
Hardly an upgrade, but definitely an older model.
Yeah.
It's the first time we ever got Future Pixel on here.
That's right. I've had the fingers shortened. They're normal size now.
Well, is that kind of like how when Bam Bam grew up, he was no longer super strong?
Yeah, that's it.
He lost his abilities. He lost the friction long fingers to grab things off the shelves. All right.
I can no longer get that last pickle out of the jar. It's just...
Yes, he's a fork now.
Yeah.
Hello to Davis Asanowicz, Maranya, and Ashland Comics. All right. For those who are not sure, they couldn't figure out by the thumbnail, we are talking about issue 51 of the Fantastic Four, written by Stan Lee and drawn by Jack King Kirby, the only king in comic books we don't talk about, Tom. All right, I guess that fell flat.
He was right.
Well,
we didn't.
you're right. You said we don't talk about him, so we didn't.
I wasn't sure if you're glitching or not, Breen. Because you're kind of quiet.
You know what? I hope when I do, I'm doing this.
Whoa. You know, it's not impressive anymore because once you see Pixel do it, everybody else just falls short. All right, so this is my first time reading this. Trust you, you've read this before, probably.
Actually, if I have, I don't remember because I wasn't, I didn't read a lot of old comics growing up. So
same here. I read the new ones, then I went back and started reading old ones.
and when I was young, I was a DC guy. You know, my best friend growing up, who was another artist, he was the Marvel guy. I was the DC guy.
Funny how it works. Like, you read a lot of one company, and then you get older, you go back and read the other company.
Mm-hmm.
I started with Spider-Man. That was my first thing. But I didn't start reading comic books until about 2002, 2003. And I was lucky to get the CD-ROM back in the day. Before they had all the pirate sites, they had CD-ROMs you could buy for like $40. And at every single issue of Amazing Spider-Man, including a lot of the crossovers and all the annuals, so I could just read them all the way through. And I was able to catch it up within like a couple months between work and school.
Mm-hmm.
So Fantastic Four was kind of out of my wheelhouse. I didn't really go into it, even though you might be able to find these CD-ROMs. For the 40th anniversary came out in 2006. So they had the Fantastic Four. I think they had X-Men was the other one, and the Amazing Spider-Man. But enough about those. As far as I've been told, in the past 56 years, this has probably been one. I would assume this is. Would you agree? This is one of the best issues.
Well, yeah, it's the thing with this story is at this particular time, this was not arguably, but almost by any metric, the most creative year that Stan and Jack ever had, because in one like 10 or 11 issue period, they created the Inhumans, everyone but Medusa, who had already been introduced, Galactus,
Godzilla,
and the Black Panther.
Sorry.
That all happened in 10 or 11 issues. I know you guys are my thing's messed up. You guys are glitching big time too.
All right, if you want to reboot, we'll still be here.
But yeah, I guess you guys soldier on. I'll try to reboot. If not, I'll have a.
And he was booted. Okay.
It was never heard from again.
Now let's bring out the good toys.
Right? Let's talk about the good comics one we want to talk about.
No, I when I was younger, I was not a Kirby fan. when I was a kid. I thought his stuff looked, blocky and had the square fingertips and everything. And
That's
but
why I
boy,
was, dude. That's why I was 5 years ago. Because I never read Fantastic Four, so I started looking at it. I was just like, why are the heads so freakishly huge and like square? Hold on.
yeah, but that's something that definitely changed as I got older.
Welcome back, Mr. Brainzilla.
The stream from earlier was still on there, so that might have been causing the glitch. So I killed that one. So let's see if this works.
Oh, there you go.
You sound much clearer for clear eyes.
Yeah, but so yeah. I said, but you heard what I said before about your creative year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, but in between that, you have this one-off that has been considered one of the best individual stories of all time. Now, as we discuss it, there is something that, if you think about it, it really doesn't make sense, but you also have to remember this story is 56 years old.
Right.
And it was in still in the infant stages of what comics were becoming. So I'll point out what that is and why I don't particularly hold it against the story. But that's a little bit later in the issue.
Yeah, I guess I was going through this and I was trying to get for Puppetine to make me a thumbnail for this. JC Penney did a reprint of that. Did any of you guys ever seen the reprints for this issue?
No.
It's that's what we use. We actually use the JC Penney cover for the art for the thumbnail because it was much brighter than the normal one. The other one was just sold. Any images we found of it were of the original books, and they were just so faded. And I don't know if that was the original color, but so the JC Penney one, which I think came out in the 70s, probably. Imagine the reprints were probably like Marvel Tales did reprints of the Spider-Man. Those were probably done in the late 70s or maybe early 80s. But anyway, the cover of this, as you can see in the thumbnail, is like you see Reed's like caught in this little energy thing, on the side, and then you see this, I was gonna say Breen, but it's the thing looking down.
Oh, they actually did a reproduction of it for the
They
changed paperback version of Marvel Masterworks Volume.
They changed the color though. This game too. They also changed it because it's in the normal one. He's actually in a green, a little energy door, and just you see the thing standing there. So what basically this is like, it starts off like the open first page as you see the thing just standing there in the rain, and I'm thinking like, okay, is this going to be a very emotional because I don't know the story before this.
I'm sorry. He's singing in the rain.
He's barely contained by a blue handkerchief. It's soggy wet rock.
Looking at the rain too, and as you go, onto the next page, a lot of time when rain is depicted, it's like a storm. It's the rain, might be very much diagonal or almost horizontal, but he's got it coming straight down on him, which kind of suggests to me that it's like when you see the cartoons of somebody with a dark cloud that just follows them around, just dumping on them, like it's all being dumped on them alone.
I do love that I think it's page 3 or page 2 where you see him walking there, then the police car shows up.
Yeah,
look at the puddles, the reflection on there. He does, Kirby does the little ink stuff, and
see where the lights are shining in the puddles and the wet streets, and
that is cool. So the guy I'm trying to remember what his name was.
You didn't forget; it was never given.
Okay, because no, but somebody I guess it's revealed later in another issue
I think they might have tried to retcon as being one of the Gideons or something.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
would look
I-
it up again, but the guy,
I think I read somewhere somebody said he was called something like Ricardo Jones. or
yes,
something like that.
Ricardo
I was like,
Jones.
where did that come from? Because did he appear in an earlier issue or something?
No, he looks. If you go back about 20 issues before this, the richest man in the world was a guy. I think his name was Gregory Gideon, and he could do anything, but he couldn't buy his son's love, and that's what makes him see the light. But he looked like this guy. But when this story was published, I don't think they ever revealed who he was, and that was kind of the point.
Yeah.
I like that they did that they kept him anonymous.
Yeah.
His first appearance was issue 50, and then in this issue they his full appearance is I guess is. Well, I don't want to spoil what happens in this issue until we get there.
But this bit where the cops at the beginning on page 3, where the cops stop him, they want to offer him a ride, do him a solid. That reminded me of the scene in the first Fantastic Four movie that had Michael Chiklis as the Thing, and he goes into the bar, and somebody's making wisecracks, and the bartender's like, "Hey, that's Ben Grimm. You show some respect,
Okay, so apparently, I guess he got his name from the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, volume 16, because that's the only reference I can think of where they list characters. Because nowhere in the story did they call him Ricardo Jones.
Maybe somebody thought it'd be a good idea to give him a name. I never needed it.
Yeah,
it's better without it. He didn't make an effort to introduce himself. He didn't make enough of an effort to compete scientifically with Reed Richards.
right. Yeah, so this guy is he's basically the brain the Thing. I want to call it the Brain because it's always Breen. For those who watch this channel, Breen always does a spectacular Thing voice in here, and a very eloquent Benjamin Grimm.
Yes, my inner monologue is far from monosyllabic.
And it becomes strangely appropriate later in this story.
Yeah, so he goes in there and this guy basically treats Ben and they get Ben's kind of like griping about stuff and all, and because again he says like, knock it off, you're breaking my heart, one Richards is enough. He's like, and the guy's like, I wish I had Richards' money and his equipment. With his reputation and fame, his assets, accomplished seeming miracles. And then I love it. Ben's like, you sure come on strong, mister. It's like, he's looking at the book. He's like, what the hell? And then he's like, thanks for the Java, chum. I'm going to go grab me some shut-eye. He's like, he's tired. The coffee worked well. I'm like this guy just basically put a roofie in his coffee. That's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
And then you see the Thing's holding his head, and the guy's got his pipe behind his shoulder. I'm like, where's this book going? I'm like, thank God it's not modern.
And you think about it, you usually think of the Thing as being really large. I mean, not Hulk large. I mean, when we've seen some of the battles with Hulk and Thing is obviously smaller, but I mean, he's lying comfortably on the couch here.
Yeah.
That's a little artistic license. Sort of like a guy having a duplication apparatus in his closet.
I apologize,
Right?
Maranya. You did a good impression of Brain reading as the Hulk, if the Hulk were the Thing. I just hope you didn't ruin your voice.
Understands none of this.
It was a Hulk thing, don't you remember? Let me tell you something, brother.
Are you able to show any of this issue on screen?
I don't have a legal copy.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I could show. I mean, Brain, or he has the book. He can show if you want to. And then I think you have Comixology or something.
No.
Oh, hold on. Let me full screen the Brain.
We're talking about things and we're not.
Yeah,
able
I know.
to show it, which is too bad.
I didn't get a chance to. I'll create overlays, to show off the book. But Well, because normally I have to do that because Zach usually just holds up his iPad. uh, unfortunately, no, I don't have access to this issue. I mean, I would have to go figure out where the trade is, where to find it, and my luck. Whenever a lot of these older, I'll find like a trade. I'm like, oh, it's great, and then I find like they don't have the volume that the issue we're doing retrospective on.
Oh, right.
So it's always like the one after and the one before. So I never get the correct volume. And it's like so I'm like, oh, I saved $20.
Okay, so yeah, the duplicator apparatus works, and now he's the thing, and the thing is reverted back to Ben Grimm.
Yeah, that was something too. I was like, this guy wants to infiltrate the Fantasy Four, so he basically makes himself look at the thing, and then where later, I believe the next couple pages, we see like the thing. I want to see the brain.
Yeah, he goes back to the Baxter building, and
yeah,
first thing Reed does is ask him to lift something huge. He goes, "You want me to lift that?" And he goes, "Quit clowning, Ben. You've done it a bunch of times." Oh, yeah. And so that should have been first red flag. So he does it, and here's the part where I'm saying where we've got to make allowances for being 56 years old. Ben Grimm shows up, telling Reed that the guy that's the thing is the phony. Now, does Reed ask either one of them a question that only Ben Grimm could answer? No. Does he do anything other than just take the word of the guy that's a big pile of orange rocks and not the guy that looks just like his college roommate? Yes. And after he leaves, he gets the guy that could be the thing or not to be his lifeline on the most dangerous undertaking he's ever had. Yes. Right after two guys are arguing over the identity of his best friend.
Yes.
Smartest man in the world. That's why Moon Girl, Riri Williams, Nadia Van Dyne, and everybody else lapped him in the 2010s.
Yeah. He's actually, it's fun because I did not know this till right now. I was like, and many, if you haven't read this is the first appearance of the Negative Zone.
Yeah. Now, again, like I said, if you look at through that lens, like, oh wow, yeah, that's really that's not good. But for the sake of this story, I said it could have been done better. Yeah, probably. But now they'd probably take 6 issues. This one we're just kind of like, yeah, maybe should have,
As Marty pointed out, there were characters out there who could mimic others, like Spy Master and the Chameleon. So
but you just let this guy wander in. I mean, past your security, he got in somehow, and then you're just gonna let him walk away.
I mean, couldn't he do a DNA test?
Because
I'm pretty sure the guy who made himself look like the thing doesn't, but he wouldn't have the exact same DNA. It's on file.
Just ask him. Said, what happened? How did we meet? I'm guessing, Rocco Ball Jones, whatever his name is, couldn't answer that. But again, like I said, it was necessary for the story. So
right, and they only had 20 pages. So.
That's right.
Yep. I love it. Says like danger, experiment, space time on the little dial, and he's turning it up. He's gonna he's little button.
I just wondered. I said,
the gizmos.
How long did it take to build that?
Yeah, that is. Let me full screen you. That as I saw that, I was like, dang, a lot longer than it would take to draw it. that is it. Yeah, that's crazy.
Jack was
Kirby
great.
Craziness.
Yes. But before we get to the Negative Zone, let's take a quick detour to Metro College.
Yes. Where we get the beloved Wyatt Wingfoot coming to the aid of Johnny Storm, who is basically getting picked on by a bully.
Well, the quarterback, Whitey Mullins, who in Jack Kirby's football land, the quarterback is bigger than any of the linemen.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty much, damn near the size of Wyatt Wingfoot, which I'm guessing would make him pretty easy to sack.
I mean, Johnny could be like, oh, especially he's like here, like he's like, here, show us a flame thing. So he's like, he lights it on fire. He's like, sure, whatever gets you, so I can leave my coffee, in peace, And the guy's like, tries to pour the water. I'm like, hey, what's that? Flame on! Just burn the guy.
Now,
it's like
we do get a little backstory that the football coach and Wyatt Wingfoot's dad were football heroes together in their youth.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is his second chance to get a championship.
Man,
he's got to get Wyatt to play, but Wyatt has no interest in athletics.
Yeah.
I was watching a comic. Kayfabe did an episode talking about this issue, and one of the things they pointed out was when it was reprinted in the Treasury edition, they edited out this whole sequence with Johnny and Wyatt at the coffee shop, and they took the big Kirby splash page that we just had with the big machine, and they took this panel that was on the bottom third of the next page following this, these two pages, and stuck it, in with, they cropped Kirby's machine basically to fit this other panel in to make it flow and fit on the page.
I gotta say though, Wyatt Wingfoot, and even the Girl Scouts, like, oh, look at those shoulders. It's like the guy is as big as the Hulk.
Well, and that's
good. I was just gonna say he's wearing a green shirt or green or sports jacket over, or sweater. So I'm like, Breen mentioned about the quarterback is like, oh, he's a big guy, but they're like, then comes Wyatt Wingfoot. I'm like, gee, the Wingfoot, was he the lineman or was he, or the quarterback's getting smaller and smaller through the decades?
Well, and this, if you look at that panel at the top of the next page where you see Wyatt, he has I can't talk. He has stood up, and you're seeing him from the back, and his back is taking up a good third of the panel, but that Kirby is so good at this. He creates so much drama there, and everybody else reacting to him. You see everybody else's face reacting to this enormous man mountain, and he's even cutting off the quarterback, who, as Eric pointed out, is no slouch in the physical department. He's a big guy too, but he's cut off by Wyatt's shoulder. I mean,
like Wyatt, if I'd put him up, his physique, it's even standing when he's throwing sideways, his chest is out and everything. He looks like Superman. Those early days when they had Superman just being like, and Captain Marvel, same thing. I'm not talking about not Shazam, the original Captain Marvel, Billy Batson. Yeah. He just looks like, this is a guy. It's like, man, I wouldn't even argue with him. I'd be like, I'm sorry, sir. Can I get you anything else? You can have my seat if you want. I'll get you a coffee. But he's and then the funny part is that Wyatt Wingfoot standing next to She-Hulk when they draw him later on in the Marvel Universe. He's so short on her.
Yeah.
it's like,
well, She-Hulk's 7 feet tall.
I know,
Wyatt
but
Wingfoot's 6'5".
I know, but it's like he looks like he's 4 foot tall when he's in her arms. It's like, yeah. And Marnie's saying is like, you should funny to mention that about Wyatt. And the Burn Run, he did draw Wyatt like Superman, minus the haircut. Glenn's just saying, Coach, damn it! If only She-Hulk was a member of the FF right now. Wyatt Wingfoot, who later was with She-Hulk, studied Paramours when she was a member of FF. All right.
They Kirby and artists of this day, they could really draw men in suits. I think that's a lost talent for the most part these
wrinkles.
days.
We look at
everybody wore them back then, so it'd be no different than us drawing, jeans and a t-shirt now.
Mm-hmm.
If you look, if you for those who have the book, if you look at where the coach is leaning over in front of the quarterback before and after Wingfoot, he's trying to get between Wingfoot and the quarterback. His sleeve, where his arm was twisted, you could see the actual where the material is turning the jacket, so it actually looks real.
Mm-hmm.
That's something. That's another thing you don't see along with the movement art, the line art, and stuff like that today, as he did back then. Like there's so much detail that these guys put into everything because they want everything to be perfect because it represented who they were.
Well, if you don't put the detail in there, there's nothing there for Vince Coletta to erase.
Oh, okay.
Is that why the backgrounds are all like blue, white, red? Because you're purple. He erased all of them.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about the inking for a second. I mean, is Joe's last name? Is it Sinnott or Sino?
To quote us, I've heard it both ways.
Heard it both ways. All right. Joe Sinnott, his inks are so confident in this issue. I mean, the lines are strong. They're not weak and sketchy. I mean, they're powerful inks over these pencils. I mean, the two of these guys together is just comics gold.
Yeah, the jackets, man. No matter who's got a jacket on, you see the crinkles, the creases, everything, just in there. The detail, it's just nowadays. Like I said, nowadays it's just like you get hardly any detail, and where most people don't even have noses.
Well, before we get in honor of someone in our chat, before we get too far into the weeds, perhaps we should.
Today's stream is sponsored by. Oh, let's go.
Perhaps we should get back to the Baxter building and head to the negative zone.
Oh, quit being so negative.
There wasn't even a word for it then.
Meanwhile, back at the Baxter building.
I'm gonna have to record you.
I'm
gonna have you recording introductions for me, Trusty. Now back to the Transformers. All right.
So anyway, Reed's going to go into the negative zone.
Yes,
he doesn't call it the negative zone.
Yes, Sue doesn't want him to go. She's like, "Reed, my darling, don't do it. If I have a premonition of disaster, at least let me come with you." "It's impossible, Sue, but I can't turn back now. Subspace must be explored and conquered." What? For the good of mankind. Wait, you got to conquer it? Okay, I guess, Reed. I thought you're the good guy.
Well, earlier he says, we need to conquer, or that's not the word he used, but faster than light travel, because we've got these intergalactic threats like Galactus and, such, and we've got to be prepared. We're defenseless against something like that until we master this.
So here's a key thing. It's a turning point for that character, the one that's posing as a thing. He says, "I always thought he was just for glamour pants, out for all the dough and the glory he could get. But tackle a job like this, he's not going to get any. He's basically saying he's not going to get anything. Reed's doing this for science. He's not doing it for glory, nothing. He's the real deal. And this guy starts to, instead of being jealous of Reed, starts to admire him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like I said, it's just so cool. Then we get into the Kirby art for the negative zone subspace. Like I'm just waiting for him. Like, is like, are we gonna go into the photo stuff? And we do go into the photo stuff.
Let me get Steranko to help me for a moment.
Brian's like, I gotta show this.
No, I just saw a fucking mouse run across my room.
Oh no!
Did he wave to you?
No, I said it's sorry. That just puts me in a fucking foul mood. Right past the trap.
Get a cat. That's all I'll say. At least you can yell at the cat for just watching the mouse walk away.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, this is kind of a wild psychedelic panel that we've got here, and that's a great shot of Reed. I mean, yeah, it's from the backside, okay, but I mean, it's so naturalistic. I mean, it's the anatomy is good.
He's floating, and he's it's like, yeah, he's got the photo, he got the weird like photo Twilight kind of magazine art looking going here, and then you see this coloristic, cartoonish kind of like character floating, and he's like, I've done it. I'm drifting into a world of limitless dimensions. It's the crossroads of infinity, the junction to everywhere.
It's the Twilight Zone,
right? But then he's in there. He's like, and he's so he's like, but I still can't control my movements. I'm being buffeted or buffeted. Buffeted? What do you want to... helplessly through the void, yet every form of matter seems to be plunging madly towards one central source. And then the cord, well, not yet, but eventually it snaps. And he's like, my only chance for escape is the line. It's like, Ben has to feel my tugging. He's got to pull me back. Well, he still can. Nothing's happening. If he fails, I'm doomed. Ben, where are you, Ben? And you just see it like it's goes on his face, like ah! it's like a horror. It's just a straight up horror movie. Like where's Ripley? It's a feeling.
Suddenly he realizes what a bad idea this was.
At this moment, he wished he switched to Geico. Yeah, and then so you got the fake Ben on the other side with Sue. She's just pleading with him. And then and it's like, Ben, the line is growing taut. It's Reed. It's a signal.
Yeah, this is the point where the Eric Breen inner monologue comes into play.
Which one? He's read both as Sue and here's the thing. Pull him in, Ben. Quickly, Ben.
But he's trying so hard to talk like Ben Grimm on the outside, but inside, he's still himself.
Yeah. So then he pulls it, but the guy gets so lost in his thoughts. He's thinking, I gotta save him, and then the line snaps, and and then Sue's pretty much like at this point just like sheer terror, everything. We get this dynamic, just a little bottom right corner of the panel. It's on an angle. You see him. He's running. He's like crap. He quick tries to grab the line. And then he grabs onto it, and then he gets pulled in there. And then in the last ditch efforts, after Reed scolds him because he waited too long to pull him in, and then the guy, regardless, he's like, Ben, what are you doing? He's like, the fake Ben fastball special him back through the portal.
Yeah.
Because to save him, and then he sits there and drifts, and then and then that's all as far as we know. He's like I tossed him back in exactly the same direction I came from. He's out of sight now, so I'll never know. So long, Richards. I hope you make it. As for me, I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself. Not many men get a second chance to make up for every rotten things they've done in their lifetime. I guess I'm luckier than most. I got the chance I finally learned what it means to have a friend. And then it cuts back to basically Ben Grimm in his apartment, kind of shrugging his shoulders, everything. And like I said, it comes back to the suits, man. Like, and as Ronnie pointed out, a lot of these guys came from advertising agencies where they actually had to draw advertisements for like clothing line stuff in these magazines.
Another of my favorite FF artists, Michael Ringo. He actually went to school. He was studying fashion illustration, like they used to do in newspapers. But of course, that was a dying career, and so he sidestepped into comics, and boy, are we lucky that he did.
Yeah, you mentioned that right at the time that he was obviously dying, Ben's at Alicia's apartment, knocking on the door.
Yep,
he turns back into the thing.
Yep,
because at the time, he was thinking that he was going to lose her to the Silver Surfer, because she's the one that had convinced the Silver Surfer to basically turn against Galactus. So that's so he
quick ducks out when
he wants, so he runs away.
Yeah. And this Reed jumps back. He's like, he did it. I'm back. He's like, and Sue's like, Ben saved you. I knew he would. And Sue, I don't know how to say it. It happened so quickly. 1 minute we were together, and then it was over. I owe my life. And then as they're sulking, he's like, oh, it's all my fault. And then you just see like Ben's like, told you it was me, dumbass.
Hey, but before we go too much farther, I just want to point out, I don't know if you can see this, Alicia here dressed as Buddy the Elf. So.
Yeah. See, are you sure that your Pixel's future self? You could be Zach. Zach has the same iPad. Or in the future, Pixel beats up Zach and takes his iPad.
That's it.
Yep. It's hard, when you lose all that income you had at the under the bridge. So you're gonna resort to violence and stealing and drinking.
But I do like when they're hugging him.
Yeah.
And the line the thing has, easy Susie gal, your husband might get jealous and try to polish me off with some brand new $50 words.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep. That's the real Ben.
Yeah. He's like, Ben's like, okay, now what happened to that rotten creep who tried to take my place here? What's the load on him? And like, Breed's like, try not to judge him too harshly, Ben. Somehow, at the last minute, some of your own heroism reached out through the endless void and touched him. And I love the things like, huh?
I didn't reach out and touch him.
I'd still like to have gotten my own paws on him just once. And Reed's like, it's too late for that, old friend. We'll never know what monstrous things he had done in the past or what monstrous plans he had made. But one thing is for certain, he paid the full price and he paid it like a man. Well, he didn't. He paid it like a thing.
And if you notice, sorry, audience, you haven't been able to follow along and see it, but Reed Richards does not stretch once in this issue.
Yes, he did not. I was like, what do you need a line for? Just go in there with your feet hanging there. It's like,
tie your feet around a chair and just
stick your head in, look around, and come back. Literally. I didn't think about that until now. He brought that up. So I was like, that's right. He didn't.
I'm guessing he probably was going farther than his ability to stretch, but
yeah, okay.
But yeah, I said it's again, the plot hole notwithstanding, just the human aspect of this story is very well done. I mean, and that part still holds up. I mean, if you can excuse just taking the guy on face value and that, I mean, it might have been better if he hadn't come. If Ben had shown up after Reed left, but again, it added to the drama.
Yeah, so like I said, this is one of those like more moral story things like that, because there was no big bad guy, there was no villain and stuff. It was just one of those things, like don't judge someone by how they look. Don't judge a book by its cover.
And it's nice to have a little bit quieter, character-driven story after the big, Galactus story that preceded it.
I just thought it's funny. It's like the guy looked just like the Thing in human form, but still with the thing eyebrows before he transformed.
But, yeah, and I said you're right. It was a nice catch your breath issue because after that it was off to Wakanda.
Yes,
and
Black Panther.
Hell, then you got a very famous Doctor Doom story. The first time that Doom stole the Surfer's cosmic power.
Nice.
And then within several months after that, they created Warlock, which was just called him at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's they, them. So basically the 50s is basically like the 300 of Spider-Man. You just got all these different things kind of happening, cool stuff.
Well, I would say this trumps that by a ton. But
well, I mean, like the Fantastic Four, obviously, it's no doubt they had a lot more introductions to the cool things. Cool
it's the 40s. Yeah, like I said, 44 through 53. In those 10 issues, you will never get more creation characters that have stood the test of time, and then this story here that it would have been very easy for this issue to be forgotten given what came before it and right after it, but this story is still talked about to this day, for the reasons that we just discussed. And
one of these days I would love to go over and just see how many characters that Kirby created that have never been used again. Like they're just kind of like
sure there are a bunch, just like everybody else, but
because I know Spider-Man had a bunch of throwaway villains, but like Kirby created a lot of characters.
Yeah, yes, he did.
So I'm just curious how many of them were actually were semi-famous, but they still haven't been used anymore.
You know, give him enough time, and Neil Gaiman will use them all somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I like these issues. It's kind of remind me kind of like the Roger Stern ones he did. Roger Stern would do those. He did the Spider-Man, and then he did the Superman story. Just your good. I know it's a filler, but it doesn't feel like a filler. It just feels like a good moral story, like a good story. Like you basically you feel like you still got something out of it, even though it's basically a gap between what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, it's a filler, but it's not an inventory story.
It's not. He didn't phone it in. No, he still got it. Stan still the story. Kirby drew it, and like I said, it was just great still. So I mean, I give these guys credits. You know, like I said, they actually give a damn about the reader. What?
And even though Johnny wasn't around, he still gets a little.
Yeah,
little
Johnny wasn't into this at all. Or just, I mean, he was in for like that little panel, but
that's playing the long game. That's developing that side story. You know,
right? There was no Namor. And nothing. No mention of him. I mean, Sue hadn't got another photo yet. I still did. They never really explained how they exchanged photos, did they?
No, they didn't.
It's just like, if I was like Reed, it's like, what are you doing? I thought you were with me. I'm like, but I like fish better.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was.
Those are headshots, like movie quality, like acting headshots.
Maybe maybe there were newspaper clippings that they somehow managed to blow up.
Nainberg, pause for the camera.
They just called Phil, the photographer from Marvels. You know,
Phil Sheldon.
We need some headshots, Phil.
Modeling agency, Namor. Now new Atlantis swimwear. It goes green or red, whichever you prefer.
This was fun. This was a fun issue.
A lot of these Fantastic Four issues I've been finding out they're actually kind of cool. And I definitely want to read more on the channel. Even without ad-libbing, like I said, the King's art is growing on me.
Mm-hmm.
No one draws a better thing than him. He does.
Yeah, the people were not his strength. I mean, in just the way. I mean, he could put them all in the right position. He can have them all in the right places and moving in the right places. But his bodies weren't as fluid as some other artists that even of that day and after him. But no one. I don't think anybody. There's never been a better sequential storyteller than Jack Kirby.
Yeah, I mean, Sue was actually drawn pretty good in this. As far as an anatomy and stuff of that, they actually. And then when Reed's on his back and she takes his helmet off, rushes down Neil next to him, and you see her like she's got that hourglass va-va-voom figure going on here. and then Reed looks like an average, like not a guy who works out, but he's in shape still, you know. I didn't see one fat person in this whole entire issue.
No. Well, it was before processed foods.
I mean, when people actually had to go out and actually like farmers had to get up. Yeah. You had to do things, chores. People did too. They got up, they did their coffee, they walked. So in New York, I don't think anybody's driving. I think most people are getting taxis or they're walking. Or in Reed's case, he's just stretching across, leaping bones. But that's the one thing that's cool about I was Reed Richards. I was like, he can just de-age himself whenever he wants to. I give Mark Russell. I hate Mark Russell, but his Fantastic Four life story. Reed stayed looking young because he reshaped his body back looking like young again because he's using his powers. Like that was cool. I was like, he's like supposed to be like in his 70s, but he's like where Sue's getting older and older looking. He just reshapes himself, and it's like.
Man, that would get tiring though.
Well, yeah, after a while, yeah,
I mean, it's not like you could push it into shape and then just, it stays there. You'd have to.
Now
that would
imagine
take
Reed
some
getting older.
concentration.
Imagine that, and he has the drooping chin because he stretches, buddy. Like imagine this getting older, but did they legalize weeds in Kentucky? Because Eric is high right now. High and believing.
Ash obviously disagreed with something I said.
I don't know. Oh, Art Adams probably, because I said that I think that the thing was best drawn by Kirby. Now, there's been other people that obviously drawn him. I think Ramita Senior actually drew him once in those reissues, right? So Ramita Senior took over for a little bit in the 100s.
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, 100.
He replaced Jack.
Yeah, and then somebody else took over because he left again. I thought.
Yeah, John Buscema.
Mark Russell made Reed vain again. Whoa. Read the rest of that story and you see what happens to Reed. I think it's the worst thing ever for a Fantastic Four story. But
Mark Russell is a terrible writer.
I guess I can say I agree with that. Kirby's being the greatest sequential artist ever. That's what I was looking.
Well, I'll stand by that.
I have no fish in that barrel. I have no bet on that horse. Any of the horses, but I could come up with really bad analogies, or we could continue on. I say carry on. All right. Anything else about this? I mean, I like I said, I love like when the line art when he like the big whoosh when he comes back from the negative zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything in the art on this story, the storytelling, even the lettering was pretty good too. Now, did we ever figure out?
I like how the other scientist guy, he made his big machine in the closet, but he made it too big to fit through the door of the closet.
And we wonder about having all those brownouts in New York. Are people creating giant like machines like this in their houses?
Mm-hmm.
But
well, you get a bunch of people trying to run their duplicator apparatuses at the same time. I mean, that's going to happen.
You're going to have blackouts.
I'm just. What was powering Reed's all his machines? That's what I want to know. Like New York. Like anytime he turns it on, it's like, oh, there goes the lights again. But no. Now, was there ever explanation for like when they do the lettering, like certain words are bold and other ones aren't? I know. I guess it's supposed to be emphasis on those words, but like I don't understand why there's emphasis on some of these words. Like he says, "There he is," and then it's like, is that because he's like straining, like still alive because of the hyphen in the bubble, or is it the hyphen there because he ran out of room in the bubble?
Oh.
I never understood that. Is that supposed to be a pause, or if that's supposed to be like because they ran out of room because they wrote the freaking font too big in the bubble? Like, and there's on the page where he's basically the thing shows up and Reed's pulling out. He's like, "Ben, you fool!" It's like, shouldn't have come after me. Now we're both doomed. And like Ben, fool, after, and both are all highlighted in bold, italics. Yeah. I guess. I mean, they want you to focus on those words, but I mean,
yeah. I mean, well, they want you to know, the way that the writer, hears the dialogue, in his head when he's writing it. Ben, you fool!
Okay, so he's yelling, basically.
You shouldn't have come after me. Not you shouldn't have come after me. Like there's somebody else you should have gone after. Now we're both doomed,
Okay. All right. Because I was wondering if there was actually a legitimate reason behind that other than just to emphasize the words. Both.
Yeah. Now, what I hate is when, somebody puts the emphasis on the wrong word. And then you read it and you go, it really should have been this one over here, not this other word. My
favorites is when you read these books and then you realize they messed up and there's supposed to be a word there. Their grammar is like not as good as like they have incorrect grammar. I love that.
And they used to have these things called editors, which would catch these.
Yeah. So I guess so. It's called negative zone because he says here in subspace, all matter is negative, while Earth is positive. Therefore, whatever strikes the atmosphere of Earth must instantly explode. Okay. So he just call it. Basically refers to it as a zone. I guess later on, he doesn't call it the negative zone though in this. So
no.
Right.
So I wonder who came up. Was that still Kirby and Stan Lee when they came up with it?
Oh.
Yeah. All right. The more exclamation marks, the better the comic.
That's right.
It's like
the more exciting it is.
Well, when we're reading these, sometimes it's like you strain your voice just trying to read this professionally. Imagine for voice acting, just trying to do this. Like there's so many words that are emphasized. It's like, all right, I'm done. It's after the first couple pages. Yeah.
It's like the bold words are where the Shatnerisms come in, Ben, you fool.
I think that's what Angleton was doing that one time we had on Friday Night Reading. He kept reading the bold words like that. It's like everything's Shatner now. I believe the negative zone preceded the Star Trek episode, which had a positive and negative universe, says Maranya. And Ash says he remembers editors back when he was a boy. No wonder Reed had eviction notices on the Baxter building. He had a huge electric bills with all the other shit. Ash is saying that clearly Reed invented a clean energy fusion reactor that could power all his needs. Yeah. I thought that was Tony. Or did Tony rip off Reed in that movie? The giant arc reactor?
No, Reed was the science guy. Tony was the weapons manufacturer in those days.
Tony was the good-looking guy that got all the money and the looks, He's like a Howard, like his father. Someone else invented it. He just took credit.
I like Glenser's comment. Today, the negative zone is called Twitter.
Oh, man. If that's the case, then somebody must have snapped the cord off for Angleton. He was going pretty wild on there today. But anyway, every time I hear Brown, that sounds like that's something that's happening in San Francisco on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's right there. Well, I could use the other word, black. Then I'm gonna get canceled. All right. That being said, anything else? Any questions from the chats at all about this book? I'm not sure if anybody else has read this. Glenzer, Maranya, or Rhaegar. If you guys have read this book before, this issue. All right. Seems like nobody wants to ask questions. Any questions for the panel?
Maranya mentions, I remember when books were hand lettered. I was looking. I actually have an Ames lettering guide somewhere around here, but I couldn't find it. It's what they used to use you would set the margin that you wanted, the size of the lettering and the gap, and it
Like
had
a
a
stencil
little wheel, and then you would put your pencil in it and just slide it along, your ruler, and it would rule your lines for lettering.
Ruling Ryan rules. Yeah. No, would the panel consider this book a worthy follow-up to the Galactus trilogy?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, there was nothing in this issue that is made me say like, oh, you know what, this book sucked. I know, I'm not gonna read anymore. I think more of the tagline for more I guess more people would be excited, knowing that the next issue is Black Panther. To me, that's like, okay, like I've never seen the Black Panther interact with the Fantastic Four before, outside of the modern stuff. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But apart from that, though, the whole story wasn't like it wasn't a bad filler or anything like that. It was actually a decent story.
Get over it, Ash.
Oh. Did anyone think the villain changed too quickly, like a lot of sitcom bully who sees the error of his ways? Well, I mean, considering they had limited time, I mean, if you think that somebody is the way they are, and then you come to realize you find out that they're not, it is kind of realistic, because sometimes, I mean, who hasn't been jealous of anybody here and then met the person, and just realized,
Right,
hey,
exactly.
yeah.
He felt that way until he met him. And then he realized exactly what you said. Yeah, that's
because you hear Reed Richards this, Reed Richards that. He is the greatest, smartest thing. And then you're like, I'm being ignored. And then you actually meet the guy. I was like, holy crap, this guy actually is smarter than me. But most people won't admit it, though. Yeah.
And it's not like this guy was, really evil. He was he was envious.
Yeah. Right? I don't know. I guess more people were nicer back then. Not everybody's a dickhead like they are today. so it's
that goes without saying.
Right. Have you seen the negative zone today? It's not that positive anymore. Used to be neutral. People used to get stuck. All right. I think we've gone on a little bit too long for this now. I thank everybody who's watching. We got 8 people currently viewing, only 4 people talking, and 3 people also talking on the panel. That leaves 1 person who's just sitting there doing nothing. All right. I'm okay. Old school comics had moral stories where lessons were learned. Yes. They weren't.
Hostess fruit pies were eaten.
That's what's missing from this. There's no Hostess fruit pie. And they didn't ask me, who is the Hulk 30 times?
Right. You've never seen anything like the Hulk.
Who is the Hulk? I don't know. Quit asking. Ash says they weren't all jaded and cynical like they are today. And Rhaegar says, I don't have enough material. Plus, I'm driving. We thank you for listening to this podcast while you're driving.
Yes.
Tune in next week as we have more of the same. And
that's
trust
why
me,
we have stoplights so people can comment on YouTube while they're driving.
Maybe he's got his talk text going.
Voice to text.
Yeah, voice text.
The only thing that sucks about that is that if everyone's live, it pauses the audio. So then, sometimes after I've done that before on E's channels, I actually had to look at my phone and push the live button on the app on the phone to get it back to where it was. All right. Rhaegar, I hope you're driving safe. You're not running over anybody while you're listening to us. Pay attention. And all this isn't what was that movie called? Something 2000 with machine
2000.
Yes, where the old people were points. There's go. The more you hit, the more points. And I gotta tell you, that's the best alone. You can't top that Machine Gun Kelly or Machine Gun Joe. Yeah, not Kelly. I'm thinking of Kelly. That guy's tainted everything. Rap, rock, and Machine Gun.
Okay.
All right, so I'll put the little ticker up here, and if you haven't already done so, please ask that you click like and subscribe if you haven't. Click the notification bell. You get notification. We'll annoy the hell out of you when we go live. And if you want to donate to the channel, every money goes to a starving child. Well, we still haven't found that child, but the money will go there eventually.
And we won't starve while we're looking for him.
No. Yes. Seriously though, our Ko-Fi link is scrolling down below. We use that for our reading apps. We subscribe to the Marvel and the DC apps, which are not that cheap. They're up there. They're close to $100 per. Yeah. Also, if you want to be on a future retrospective, leave a comment down below after the stream's over and let me know. And then we can figure out a comic book and the time to get you on. And if you miss Zach, he'll be back next week. If you don't miss Zach, then don't tune in next week. All right. I can't think of anything else. I mean, Rhaegar, it's not a 40-minute goodbye. If you want a 40-minute goodbye, you got to go to the other channel. Or wait till Brina starts talking about his childhood.
When I was a boy.
Yes.
We
All right.
didn't have any monologuing.
Tune in tomorrow. On this channel, I'll be joining the freakishly long-fingered Pixel and his devious co-host, the Authenticator, Dalton Mortimer. And we talk about the Sandman, episode 3 and 4. So if you haven't already checked out the Ease review with Dalton talking about the show, you can watch it with fresh ears on our channel. And then we'll be reading tomorrow, and then there's probably reading on Ease, and then that's it. All right, guys. Have a good night, and I hope you guys read good books.
Thanks for having me join you.
Good
You're
night,
welcome.
kids.
All right. To all the true believers, have a good night. And if you had 1 hour and 51 minutes to this ended, you won.